everyone, welcome to UTBB's latest Smokehouse Chat. I'm Lindsay and we are back after a full summer of news about Pebble. So we're here to give you the latest. In this chat, we'll discuss Pebble's alleged dividend program, where things are at in the permitting process, what's happening in Washington, D.C., next steps, and what you can do to help protect Bristol Bay. Back in June, Pebble announced a dividend program for Bristol Bay residents. First and foremost, we want to share the truth about this program so folks know what's really going on. PLP's performance dividend is an attempt by the Pebble partnership to drum up the perception of local support for the project. Why? Because Pebble is going broke and they need a new investor to move the project forward. However, investors like to see local support, which Pebble has never had, as poll after poll continues to show that over 80% of the region is opposed to the toxic project. Pebble's solution to this problem is to make empty promises of a cash dividend so they can use sign-up numbers to try and show local support. The reality is that Pebble's latest financial reports reveal that the company doesn't even have enough money to finish permitting, cover their existing bills, or pay staff salaries like CEO Tom Collier's $12.5 million bonus. It's clear that Pebble cannot and should not be trusted. They've proven time and again that they will say and do anything to try and force their toxic project on Bristol Bay. This so-called dividend is just the latest in a long string of empty promises to our region. It's shameful that Pebble is trying to promise money that they don't have to our friends and neighbors during the heart of the COVID pandemic. But together we can keep working to protect Bristol Bay by rejecting Pebble and continuing to voice our opposition. Also big in the news over the summer was the Army Corps of Engineers' release of the Final Environmental Impact Statement, or Final EIS, for Pebbles Permit application. As expected, the Army Corps' assessment was fundamentally flawed. Despite universal condemnation from scientists at government agencies like the EPA, Department of the Interior, and the Alaska Department of Fish and Game, the final EIS remains inadequate and drastically underestimates the impacts of Pebble on the waters, salmon, and people of Bristol Bay. Technical experts, tribal leaders, scientists, even former mining executives have all reviewed the final EIS and have concluded that it is a complete failure. It is clear Pebble's plan would have devastating and irreversible impacts on Bristol Bay's lands and waters. If you're interested in more detail on the final EIS, you can watch a video press release of scientific experts and tribal leaders summarizing the shortcomings of the assessment by clicking on the link below the video. Following the release of the failed final EIS, the U.S. House of Representatives passed a bill that would halt all funding for the Army Corps to issue Pebble's permit. We're so thankful for the members of the House of Representatives for recognizing the corrupt and rushed Pebble permitting process. The bill will now have to be passed by the Senate before it's finalized, so stay tuned for more updates on this important development. Also in D.C., the House Oversight and Reform Committee called on the government's watchdog agency, the Inspector General, to launch a formal investigation into Pebble's federal permitting process and an investigation of the EPA for the withdrawal of the Clean Water Act protections that paved the way for Pebble's permit. The committee cited serious concerns with the millions of dollars Pebble paid lobbyists to influence the permitting process, and it's now up to the Inspector General to make a determination on an investigation. We urge the IG to move forward as our tribes have had a front row seat to Pebble's sham of a permitting process, while the Corps has worked to move Pebble forward at unprecedented speeds, all the while trying to silence Bristol Bay Voices. With all of this happening, Bristol Bay has also been the subject of national attention lately by a variety of political leaders. Presidential candidate Vice President Joe Biden recently made a strong statement opposing the Pebble mine and committing to stop the toxic project if he's elected in November. Vice President Biden's vow to protect Bristol Bay came amidst bipartisan calls on the Trump administration to stop Pebble through an EPA veto. The most surprising calls on the president were from his own son, Donald Trump Jr., and from Nick Ayers, Vice President Pence's former chief of staff, who tweeted their support for protecting Bristol Bay from the Pebble mine. We've seen other celebrities across America show their support for Bristol Bay lately as well, including Jane Fonda, Kix Brooks, Jimmy Kimmel, Tucker Carlson, and Zach Brown. We are so thankful to people all across America and the political divide who can agree that our region is worth protecting. And as always, what's coming next and what can you do? The Army Corps can issue Pebble's Clean Water Act permit decision as soon as the end of this month. Despite a mountain of evidence to the contrary, the Pebble Partnership and Army Corps of Engineers claim that the final EIS is a sound document that will lead to a positive outcome for the foreign mining company. It is absolutely critical that right now we call on the EPA to exercise their veto authority to stop Pebble from receiving their permit. Click our Take Action link in the comments below to sign a letter to the EPA today and spread the word. In the comments below, you can also find ways to pressure President Trump and Congress to stop Pebble from moving forward. Now is the time to take action, and we have no time to take our foot off the gas. People standing strong have kept this toxic mine out of our region for more than a decade. We have proved time and again that we will not be fooled by Pebble's empty promises. Our region is priceless, and together we will hold the government accountable. Help us stop Pebble and remind elected leaders that Bristol Bay is not for sale, and we will not trade our ways of life for gold and copper. So thanks again, everyone, for tuning in to this latest Smokehouse Chat. Be sure to check out utvb.org and follow us on Facebook for recent news and information about the ways to protect Bristol Bay.